Dustin LeBleu CEO podcast. I am Dustin, and hey, I'm joined by my main man, Austin Ray.
Yeah, so I get happy to introduce myself there, not to cut you off or anything. All right, man. So a lot of people don't realize that you are the face of a lot of different companies. All right.
Yes.
In your lifetime thus far, you've been involved with 50 plus different businesses. Currently, you have Insane Labs, La Cheek Nutrition, 8 other brands alone inside of the supplement field. You have Dilated Thoughts, which is clothing, Darkwood Pictures, which is involved with movies. Innovative Formulations is one of the largest supplement manufacturing facilities in the northern U.S. On top of that, you manufacture for 200 plus different brands as well.
Which is awesome.
Which is huge. I mean, aside from that, locally, we've got the Wave Tanning Salon, Harrison Fitness, and I'd say, dude, between all the companies, there's like 10 million plus followers. Is that safe to say?
I would say probably actually there's about 15 million now, I think, across all the social platforms.
Dude, that is amazing. Okay. You started business when you were as young as 18 years old. You're only 35 now, and these are just some of the things that you've accomplished. These are just some of the businesses. I didn't name all of them. It would literally, we could have one podcast.
That'd be boring.
Just with businesses,
I think.
All right, dude. A lot of people get discouraged when it comes to starting their own business. A lot of people think that they can't do it. But the fact is, they can. And I feel like your story is going to lend some credibility and some actual knowledge to these people that could help them actually build a business. Not only that, but a lot of people don't understand that you had everything pitted against you from day one.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, basically, you and Gabe kind of talked to me about getting the story out there, and it's been a long time coming, and I've never really felt that comfortable about doing this, but I think it's going to help a lot of people, and it shows a real person building a real business in real trials and tribulations, I guess.
Exactly. So let's start from the very beginning, when you were born.
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty much born basically born, and my mom pretty much gave me up. She had some drug issues at the time and ended up in a mental institution for a bit. My grandma took care of me up until I was 5 years old, which she's an angel. She was, awesome.
From my understanding, your grandmother has been one of the biggest role models for you.
Oh, dude, nobody better in the world. I mean, just a great person. And, at the age of 5, went back to live with my mom. She'd, got clean at that point. She had remarried, and the person she remarried was just really not a great guy, to be, quite honest. So, living there, just went through, abusive kind of time, and just not a really good home life, basically. Just a real tough time in school and things like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, even at the start of your childhood, I mean, things were just playing against you. I mean, demographically speaking, you shouldn't be where you're at starting from a point like that.
Yeah, and we lived in basically the projects is what it was. I mean, it was just a not a very good neighborhood, really crime ridden. I mean, I even saw people, I literally saw somebody get their hand shot off, somebody got killed. I mean, I've seen a lot of things at a young age. So that was something that's, will stick with you later on in life.
Yeah. I mean, dude, that just plays over in your mind over and over again. But then again.
Yeah. But you move on from it.
Though. Yeah, it's fuel. It's fuel to do better.
Yeah.
So at this point, how old were you? Let's see. I want to say, you said your stepfather, he was very tough on you. And I know you told me that it was about at the age of 8 years old that this was going on with you.
Sure.
And, we've got a small timeline here. Let's hit on age 9. So at about 9 years old, you had something that was, pretty detrimental to you in regards to, physical health.
Yeah, I ended up, I've always been a big sports fan, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
And I played, baseball, football at the time, things like that. And I got diagnosed with osteoarthritis. So basically it stunted the growth of my left foot. I basically couldn't walk for... It was almost 2 years, in terms of not really walking well. So I had to quit all sports, which sucked. I mean, that was kind of like my way. That was kind of like the get away from home, get away from that atmosphere,
Yeah.
So, playing baseball and things like that. But that sucked, to be quite honest with you. But, I figured out, 3 years later, started getting a little better from it. I mean, I still have the stunted growth in my foot to this day, but you learn ways around that.
Yeah.
Figure out a way to make it work for you.
Okay. Well, I mean, dude, that just sounds like, I can't imagine. I can only think that did that cause bullying and stuff at school and.
Oh yeah. I mean, I remember actually, my family got into some drug issues again around that same time.
Yeah.
Like, so it was about from 9 to 12. I had the arthritis pretty badly, and then we actually pretty much just jetted to Arkansas, and that's where I'm at today. And moved in this little tiny shack. And when I say tiny shack, it's like this little, man, I'm wanting to say maybe 500 square foot. When we took a bath in a apple, one of those, those apple crate things. When you bob for apples, those little tub things?
Yeah.
That's what we took a bath in.
Seriously.
I'm not joking you. Like that's what we moved into.
At that time, were you aware? You know what I'm saying? Like, did you understand that your situation was less than subpar? I mean, the situation you were in, did that at the time, was that making you start thinking ahead? Were you already thinking, what can I do to get away from this?
Yeah, at that point, yeah, because I was going to be going to 7th grade. So, yeah, then kids will start, noticing stuff like that. That's when, kids you start developing that,
Dude.
Well, this kid's, the doctor's son, or,
Yeah.
This kid's from nothing. Well, who's going to have a better chance of making the basketball team?
Dude,
That kind of bullshit.
Yeah, it's sad that kids, even then and even today, are almost that fickle with the way that they perceive those that are around them.
Yeah, it's true, man.
So even in school, you were a consistent, BC student.
I was never really into school, man. Like, I just didn't, it just wasn't fun for me. It was very monotonous and boring, and just didn't. Besides math, I liked math, but other than that, everything was just. It just didn't interest me, man. It was boring. I would, honestly be daydreaming when the teacher talked or whatever, just because it sucked. That's what I thought.
Okay,
and it wasn't a great student.
Yeah. So I mean, at this time, how old were you? Like in about 7th grade.
Yeah, 7th grade, so 12.
About 12 years old. So, I mean, was the home life getting any better, after you fled up here, or did it just stay in the constant?
It got worse. It got worse. Yeah. So basically, same story, different place. So you take drug addicts, you move them somewhere else, they find the same type of people, and that's how it goes.
Yeah. And I know you've told me, the adoptive father, he was still tough on you, even throughout your entire childhood. So even after moving up here, he was still very tough on you. And I believe, and I've seen it myself, you have 2 quotes hanging in your office. And I know one of them is from him.
Yeah, one's from him, and then one. So the one from him is, he told me when I was 17, he looked at me and he said, listen, boy, because I'd start dabbling in my own little things, doing some old creative stuff. And he just didn't like that. He's like, look, you're never going to be anything unless you pick up a shovel. And I remembered that my whole life, And then the other quote was my real dad, who was really never there. I saw him once or twice in my life, I guess. Yeah. And he basically said, he called me one day, and I remember him saying this. This is when I was actually 12. I had just moved to Arkansas. He says, you're like your Uncle Bill. I don't like you, but I have to talk to you.
Really?
And I was like, no, you don't. I don't need that.
No, dude. And that's the thing, is you really don't need that.
No, you don't.
And you know what? Again, that just aids to the fuel that built you up to what you have today. So, we've jumped ahead about 4 years. So at this point, you're 17. A little bit more than 4 years. We're looking at like 4.5, 5. In that span, was there anything else significant that you think would lend to this story before we go ahead and get into the younger years of when you actually started business?
Yeah, I mean, I think just. Obviously recognizing what was going on. Once I finally figured out, at a young age, I didn't really understand that drugs were a big cause of a lot of things that are going on. Well, I was 17, I started realizing what was going on. I started calling my mom out, started calling, stepdad out, things like that. And then, realizing that it was best for me to not go down that route and leave home and just do my own thing. What that was, to be honest, I didn't really know, but I knew that I had a lot of thoughts and a lot of things that I wanted to do, just couldn't really name exactly what they were. But I knew they were somewhat business oriented, because I've always, honestly, I have pictures of when I'm 4 years old, sitting out on the side of the road selling comic books or selling baseball cards. I've always been an entrepreneur, even though whether I realized it or not, I've always loved marketing and selling stuff.
Just at the time, you didn't know what it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So let's jump into 18 years old. This is the point in which you decided to take your future into your own hands. You left home.
Yeah, left home. Ended up going to, the first thing I went to was I saw an ad in the paper for telemarketing. I'm like, look, I'll try this out. So I went and worked for a place called Spinnaker Resorts. Sold timeshare on the phone. Quickly, like within a week or two, became the second highest sales guy. And that was working, I think I was working 25 hours a week at that time.
In a week or two.
In a week or two. Yes.
That's it.
Yes, and that was with, and I'm not trying to brag here, but it was with the top guy had like, he got all the best leads possible, like the owner referrals and things like that. I was just calling whatever they had. You know what I mean?
You were getting the scraps.
I was getting the shit. But I was selling, so it didn't really, it was cool. But, at that point, I remember the owner of the company actually walked in one day, and he looked over to the guy next to me, and he's like, hey, man, I pay $2 a lead for these little pieces of paper, the numbers that you're calling, the little enter to win a Branson vacation number. So, like, people would register to win a Branson vacation, and we would call the people that didn't win. Like, hey, you didn't win, but here's your secondary offer, $200 to come to Branson or whatever the case may be. And he told him, like, look, don't waste my leads, man. They're $2 a piece.
$2.
$2 a piece.
Just for one name.
Exactly. So in my mind, I'm like, shit, man, they're paying $2 a piece for these? So I kind of took it upon myself to go home, I basically took cardboard boxes, and it was around Christmas time. It was like actually around Black Friday to be exact. Took those little boxes, wrapped them up in wrapping paper, which was terrible because I can't wrap.
Oh, come on. I bet it was a beautiful wrapping.
Oh, yeah, man, put a bow on and everything. But no, I literally wrapped those up, went on Black Friday to the Tanger Outlet Mall, which is just a mall in Branson, Missouri, like an outlet mall, and just kind of went into each store, just went up to the managers. Hey, where's the manager at? Can I put this box in here? Cool. They were so busy, they really didn't care. So going on Black Friday was kind of it was a bad idea in a sense, but it ended up being good because they were so damn busy, they couldn't think about telling me no, really.
It was perfect. Perfect
kind
time.
of perfect.
So how many stores did you get boxes in?
It was probably about 15 or so at that time.
Man, that's like
13 to 15 in that range.
That's over half of Tanger Outlet.
Yeah. Well, I forgot how much is in Tanger, but there's quite a few stores. I think there was more at that time, actually, just to be honest. But, basically 3 days later, I go back, check these boxes. I'm like, go back, check them, get all the papers out of the boxes, and I decide to go back to my boss who talked about the $2, leads. I was like, going to offer them to him, but he wasn't there. So I decided, I'll drive down the road. There's a bunch of telemarketing places here in Branson. So I go over to a place called Branson Getaways. Walk in, meet the lady who buys the leads. Immediately, she's like, yeah, I'll buy them. So,
How much did she buy them for?
I mean, she gave me the $2 a piece for the qualified leads. And I think it was around $1,500, around that, roughly, if I'm, but that was a lot of money to me at the time.
At that time, what did you think? What were you thinking when she handed you a $1,500 check?
To be honest, dude, I was like, this is fucking easy. Like, I just thought that was easy. I
mean, in 3 days, you literally sat some boxes out, you wrapped them, and in the end, you had $1,500.
$1,500, yeah.
So what did this do for you? I mean, mentally, were you thinking, I've got to keep doing this. I got to hustle it.
Oh, I became addicted. I mean, I was just like, obsessed, I guess, like part of the podcast says. I was like, I literally thought this was easy shit. I was like, man, this is so freaking easy. So, I mean, like, I'm this young kid, and I'm still telemarketing at this time. So I'm still calling the leads. My boss doesn't even know I'm selling my leads to the other company.
Does he ever know that you have leads? Did you ever tell him?
No, he never actually did, because I didn't have any reason to even tell him, to be honest. I was like already selling them. So
now, did the other place know that you worked for their competitor?
Yes. They did. Yeah, they did.
And she's still just, I mean, did she ever try to hire you, or, like try to get you over there?
Well, I think, that there'll become a point to that. So basically, the next round of leads that I got, kept going at Tanger, and I added some more stores and things like that. Then I went back in to sell more, and that lady was fired. I believe her name was Robin. She was gone, and went and turned them in. And this dude comes running out, and he's like, "Hey, you're Dustin, right? You're Dustin, huh?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he's like, "Hey, I'm John. I'm the new like, head of lead department, basically." And I'm like, "Okay, cool, man." He's like, "Well, yeah, I really see some good stuff in you." Let me help you out. You can go to like bigger corporate places like Golden Corral, Shoney's, things like that, and land some big deals if you have the confidence. I'm like, fuck, man, like tell me anything you want to tell me. I'm gonna listen and I'm gonna do. So that's what happened. I ended up landing Golden Corral really quickly and went from making $1,500 to, the original check to, damn, dude, $15,000 a month pretty quickly.
18 years old.
I was 18 years old.
And you were making you went from 1,500 in less than a year to 15,000.
Yeah, and it did seem easy.
So,
but with that being said, man, I know a lot of people that tried to do lead boxes that couldn't do it. So in my mind, I started realizing that it's easy for me, but not easy for some people.
So, let's take a second here and, let's make a note. At 18 years old, you've already made it out on your own, and you've gone from absolutely nothing to having the self-driven motivation to go out and change your life. Yeah. You've maintained, a success rate up to the point to where you developed 1,500 into 15,000.
Yeah, 15,000.
What can you personally take from that and mold into advice for somebody else that's just 18 years old right now? Just what would be the first tip of wisdom you would give somebody before we move on?
I mean, really just don't be scared, because that's the thing. Like if I would have thought too much about it, I wouldn't have done it. I mean, from the moment the guy said, hey, $2 a lead, my mind immediately went to, how can I sell this guy leads? That's what I thought. There was an opportunity. I can't tell you how I thought that, why is my mindset that way? I don't really know. And maybe it is from childhood. Who really knows? But my mindset is that way. So I was like, dude, I could make some money on this. It seems very easy to me.
Okay.
So I'm already selling the shit. So
for the people that are actually listening, take that into thought. Don't be scared to fail at something early on. You're going to. Don't be scared to take that step. Odds are you're probably going to.
Sure.
I mean, we're not saying go do telemarketing, but hey, whatever your venture is, don't be afraid to jump into it. But aside from that, man, let's move on. So at this point, when you're making the $15,000 a month,
mm-hmm.
Let's move on from there. Tell me a little bit more.
So yeah, making good money. John sees that. We actually start becoming friends. John's about 10 years older than me. And like I said, he was actually helping me out a little bit. I was making him money because he made money off of what I sold the company. Like he would get a percentage off of. So, like I said, we became friends. And then one day I get a phone call from Toby, who was like the head guy there. And just out of the blue, man, I talked to the guy maybe 3 or 4 times in my life, to be honest. And he calls me and he's like, hey, man, want to let you know that we let John go today. And we just think that you would be right for this position. And I'm like, oh, shit. It kind of puts me in a weird spot because John and I became friends. He kind of helped me out with the corporate stuff. And I'd been working out at the time, and I was actually helping him get in shape because he was out of shape at the time. And pretty much offers me close to $200,000, for that position a year. So that kind of put me in a weird spot. And I ended up turning it down. I actually called John, talked to him about it, hard conversation. But I was like, yo, look, I think I'm going to pass on it. I like kind of having my own freedom. I don't want to be stuck in an office type, area. It's just really not me. I can't really sit down in an office all day. So I passed on it.
So you're still 18.
Yeah, I was actually, I was 18 or 19 at that time, probably. I can't remember exactly.
And you passed up a $200,000 job.
Yes.
And it was because all in good conscience for somebody that had helped you out so far.
Yeah, and honestly, too, with that, for sure, like that was a big thing. You know me, man. I'm like loyal to a fault. Like it's actually a problem, man, at some point. But also, I was making good money, man, and I was doing my own thing. I had my own time, which I liked. I work a lot of hours in the day, so I could do whatever I want. I was, my girlfriend, Katie, at the time, who's now my wife, we were hanging out and stuff. So I just wanted to have that time to do what I wanted, honestly. And ultimately, growing up, I didn't really get to do what I wanted. So now it was time to do that.
So you actually ended up working with John again.
Yeah, so now, like, to cut to today's time, John is a partner in Innovative Formulations. So I came back to him when I was, wanting to open the manufacturing facility, and he was one of the investors in that. So it's weird how things go around. But at that time, John actually, this is like right after he got fired and all that stuff happened. He started doing mall kiosks, but those little things in the middle of the mall.
Those things that I like constantly try to avoid because people I'm
Yeah.
such a bad impulse buyer of random things.
Yeah.
So you're telling me you ran those, or did you guys own it? Like, what'd you do?
So he had owned one, and he had success one Christmas year. He did it at, I did it at Christmas, and then he talked me into doing a partnership with him in Iowa City, Iowa. I was like, yeah, man, I'll give it a shot. It's about 9.5 hours away, and to be quite frank, it was a complete failure. Didn't do well at all.
I didn't even know that Iowa had malls. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, it's actually a nice mall. I think it's called the Coral Ridge Mall.
Really?
Yeah, and it was nice, man. They had like a skating rink in there and shit, but
that's crazy.
It was a sick mall, but basically failed. Went back and forth. Just a lot of work, really, man. You're working, 12 to 15 hour days. It's a lot of time on your feet, things like that. But that didn't really stop me. The next year, I decided to do 4 different ones. So I did Little Rock, Pine Bluff, 2 in Little Rock, 1 in Pine Bluff, and 1 in Iowa City again. And actually came out with like 30 grand probably cash.
Was there no hesitation jumping into it with 4, whereas the 1 didn't do good? Was there any none?
No, bro. I was making calls to malls like literally a month after that failure to solidify my spots because I knew there was potential there.
And at this time, even with the kiosks, you're still doing leads, correct?
Oh yeah, I'm still doing leads. Yeah, because that's how I was paying my rent. Because the mall rent's like, dude, $4,000, $5,000 a month at that time of year.
That is insane.
Yeah, and that's not counting your insurance and your whatever else you're paying, taxes and all that kind of stuff.
So at this time, I like to hit back on the age. That's one of the big things I like to hit on here, so people can have a firm understanding that this all can start at 18, hell, even earlier than that. But at this time, you're what, 19?
It was 2001, so I was going into 20 years old.
Okay. So going in from Pine Bluff, Little Rock, the 4 different malls. How did those turn out?
Those turned out decent. About 30 grand. Running the 4 malls, but I kept doing this mall thing for literally 11 years. I did this for quite a while actually, and had some really successful ones. I had one where I made 100 grand in 2 months. Clear profit.
Shit.
So had a really good, and that was on top of my lead money too.
Dude,
so I was kind of compiling some cash at that point.
What were you selling? They netted you 100 grand in 2 months.
That was it was actually the turbo twister car. So it was a remote control car that does all the flips and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of like before like anybody had it, you know what I mean? So we were selling it before like any of the stores knew about it, that kind of stuff. So it was unique.
Dude, I can only imagine kids freaking out. So what were you guys selling them for? Like price wise?
We were selling them for $29.99. And we got them for, I think it was like $8.50, I believe, if I remember correctly. Like around $8.50. That's kind of like a rule of thumb in the mall, is like no less than 3 times markup. Because your rent's so high. Dude. And keep in mind, I worked these malls myself. Like I went from every mall, we don't take days off.
I'm wanting to do math real quick to find out how many of these units you had to push to net 100 grand. I don't even.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, we would have lines like.
Bro, that's like pallets.
Oh, it's a shit ton, man. It's a shit ton.
Dude, that is insane. So, so for 11 years, you did mall kiosks. How far into that 11 years did you maintain doing leads? At any point, did you decide, I've had enough of this? This is, sustainable enough for my lifestyle, for what I'm doing. I'm going to part ways with leads.
It was. So, probably 3 years into doing the malls, it's one of the good years that we had, the one I'm talking about, the 100,000. We ended up opening, me and my wife opened a tanning salon that you mentioned at the beginning called The Wave Tanning Studio.
Yep.
Which, for the first 6 months, really, like our 3 months, probably our best day was like $17. It just did terrible, but we kept at it, literally closed down all the rest of the tanning salons in the area, and we do really good today. Just to cut straight to the story on that. And that's with having my son Logan with me every day. Just going through everything basically. But kept doing the malls in the Christmas season, and then ended up opening kind of like a GameStop / FYE music store type deal.
Oh, dude, old music games and more, man.
Yeah, music, games, and more. Did well with it, but actually, this is something I forgot to tell you about. So it's something that you'll actually learn here. But at one point, I was gonna take off the mall because I had the baby. We had the salon, we had the music store, but I got in a little bit of financial trouble because I tried to honestly open too much. I was trying to open my gym as well at the time.
Yeah.
So I was putting money into it, and actually John was doing the malls, so he called me up, and or actually I called him up. I was like, "Hey man, is there anything I can do to make a little extra cash?" And he was like, "Yeah, come work for me in Evansville, Indiana, at a mall and sell." I mean, he knew I could sell shit, so he was like, "I'm gonna make money." So he's like, "Dude, I'll give you $3,000 for 3 weeks." And at the time, I was like, "Dude, all right, I gotta do it." So I jetted off to Evansville, worked for John. So this is how things come back around. Go work for John. He gives me the $3,000. I think he gave me $4,000 actually. I think he gave me an extra $1,000. Helped me get through that Christmas season, and then music, games, and more started to take off. Started kind of find my groove there. Got the gym finished out, all that kind of stuff. Within talking 2 or 3 year span here.
Yeah. So I mean, like when you took off, how old was your son? There's a lot of people.
Dude, when I took off, yeah.
I mean, dude, a lot of people would have a problem with that. A lot of people can't find the strength to, to leave.
He was a baby. I mean, he was let's see, he was about 9 months old.
I was gonna say, man,
it sucked,
dude. As a new father myself, I mean, my son's obviously, he's a year and a half now, but dude, I have no idea how you would take off. I mean, like, man, that is strength.
Well, and it sucked too because keep in mind, like when I was doing the malls myself, I'm making pretty good cash.
Yeah.
Well, I decided not to because I wanted to be with my son, and it's like I ended up not being with him, only thinking I was gonna make $3,000.
Yeah.
So it's a big step.
So after music, games, and more, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys decided to open up a second tanning salon after shutting everyone else down in town.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we opened a new one. Like around the time we opened our gym, we opened a new salon, bigger. We went from I think we had 8 beds to 23 beds, I believe.
Wow.
And then we kept the old salon open, so we had 2 within, like probably a quarter mile.
Yeah.
You know where the old one was.
Oh yeah.
But kind of kept it up for a year until there was one salon I think left, and once it went under, we closed the little salon down, kept the big one open. We had the gym. I even was selling. I had a snow cone cart that I was selling stuff out of.
Dude, when did you get a snow cone cart? What possessed you to get a snow cone cart?
Man, I saw it on eBay, and I was like, "This would be pretty sick, man. I want to do some snow cones." And I know I sound like I'm going all over the place. I'm trying to remember all the shit that we've done. I had a snow cone cart at the Branson Landing when it opened. That did really well, and it's still there to this day. I sold it and stuff. So
dude,
I think you've seen it.
Yes, man. I'm telling you what, my wife is addicted to that. The Branson Landing, dude. I'm telling you what, we've been down there so many times. I've eaten snow cones from that thing.
Man, I love snow cones still. Even though I had them, man, I'll stop and get a snow cone. It'd be great. Shaved ice, man.
We're going to end up with a new snow cone company. I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you officially opened 24/7 Fitness back in 2009, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. After that, the next business venture in which you started was actually a vitamin store, and it was because you wanted to compete with the one that was in town.
Yeah. So basically, I had called up Europa Sports. Got to give a shout out to my boy Keith Vinson. He was my rep, and we started dabbling in supplements at the gym. Sold a few here and there. Decided, you know what? Let's go ahead and I think I can crush these guys down the road, which is a terrible attitude to have, I guess. But opened a store called the Vitamin Store. Took a lot of money from the tanning salon, the gym, those things to put into the Vitamin Store. To say it was a success, I would be lying to you because it freaking sucked. It didn't do shit. That store down the road crushed my ass, man.
How long was it open, dude?
So it was only open for a little over a year, probably. And it was very boring. I was in the store every day. I worked it, just real boring. But it allowed me to start kind of looking at the back of bottles and learning these ingredients. And like I said earlier, I've always been into working out and nutrition and things like that. So started kind of learning this stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to try to just make my own product. So I started taking products that were in the store and mixing them, and I'm saying raw ingredients, to see what the effects would be and things like that. Then I ended up hiring a manufacturing company to make a first product that I called Melt, and it was a fat burner.
Oh boy.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, guys, is I know exactly what Melt was. The beautiful label, and just wet one.
Yeah, it was a piece of shit, man, to be honest with you. But but I didn't understand that kind of stuff. I was just like, I know nobody in the industry except Keith. That's it. That's all I know. I don't know anything about it in terms of how to make a product and things like that. I just kind of like dive into it like I do with a lot of things. And ultimately that was a big failure. I was still doing the malls too. I was in Jonesboro, Arkansas with Jason Nix, who was also working at Home Depot. He took a little time off, and I actually decided, I was like, man, I'm going to talk to Jason. I need some help. If I'm going to do this, I need help. So I go to Jason. I'm like, yo, dude, trust me here. You quit your job. Let's run LeCheek Nutrition. That was the name of the brand. It still exists today. I'm like, look, we can do some cool things here. Quit. I'll pay you $250 a week. Jason was kind of like, man, I got a pretty secure job. I don't know if like, dude, just trust me. Just trust me. And then Jason's like, all right, man. Comes back, I think 3 or 4 days later. He's like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go ahead and go with it. So literally everybody's just like, this is stupid, terrible idea. Even my wife, even John, like everybody's just like, terrible idea. This sucks. So me and Jason like pretty much hit the road. I end up calling one of the biggest distribution companies in the world, get a deal immediately. So me and Jason drive down to Dallas to have this corporate meeting thing.
How'd that turn out?
It was embarrassing, and I did a terrible job.
But they picked it up.
They picked it up, man.
They picked it up. That's all that matters is they picked it up.
They picked it up, but I was nervous as shit, man. I'm not gonna lie. It was like one of those real like movie situations, like where it was the executive board meeting type thing, and like how I am, man. I like dress like normal and not really into that kind of stuff.
Showing up in some Jordans, a t-shirt.
Got my J's on it, yeah. Hat backwards or whatever.
So I mean, like this is honestly like this move right here with them picking it up. Yeah. Would you say that's like one of the more, like pivotal moments in your supplement career where you see that, oh hey, these guys are actually going to pick this up. I can do this.
Yeah, again, going back to doing the leads at first, it just seemed very easy. I was like, God dang, this is so easy. Like I just called, like literally just called and it was done. And then but I realized, after that meeting that, man, me and Jason are going to have to go door to door. Like we had to go store to store to sell this shit because first off, our product was not good at the beginning. So then we had to develop something better. And that's where a lot of things come into play now.
So which, let's tap back. Which product were you guys selling? I mean, what product did they pick up?
So they picked up Melt, the original, the shitty one. Melt Extreme, because we had revised it because I saw how shitty it was. Then Speed Extreme, which was our pre-workout.
Dude, I had the OG like Speed Extreme.
Yeah.
And man, that flavoring,
it was horrible. But it was a good product. It just tasted really bad, and that was a real big issue, man. We found out real quick the industry had changed quite a bit. And if you didn't have something that tasted good, you're in some deep shit.
Okay, so you've got these 3 products, obviously, getting picked up and everything. Where does that take you mentally from there? Like, what was your next step?
Well, we started landing some stores, things. I had a lot of issues with one of my manufacturers, so I changed over to another manufacturer. There was a whole thing in 2012. That DMAA started getting a lot of heat. So I had DMAA in the product, and we decided to move away from it. So we move away from it, get this new manufacturer, and we launched Speed Extreme Ultra Concentrate. And it did really well. I mean, we had 80 servings for a budget price. Did really well, started moving well. And that new manufacturer, I think, either got jealous or either too busy. I really don't know what happened. There was a split up between their partnership. He had a partnership with a guy, and then, they just they weren't getting my stuff out. So it was killing my sales because I didn't have product to sell.
Okay. And, if they're not getting your product done, that can only mean one thing. What is the next logical move?
Well, the next logical move when you start making a little money is to invest it all into a manufacturing facility yourself that you don't know anything about. And that's what I did.
So you guys, you opened up innovative formulations.
Yeah, and this was within 2.5 years of having a brand. I went into manufacturing. So I went and bought this barn and converted it into a CGMP manufacturing facility. The barn was, so I think it's 7,500 or 8,000 square foot. And today it's 60,000 square foot. And then we also have our new facility, which is 500,000 square foot.
Did you guys hear that leap? That just went from 7,500 to 60,000. And that next leap went all the way to 500,000 square feet.
Yes.
Now, one of the largest supplement manufacturing facilities in the U.S.
Yeah. I think we might be the biggest, actually. If not, we're up there.
I was going to say, that's 500K. That's huge.
But see, here's the thing that really made the big difference that a lot of people didn't understand. See, Jason and I were on the road. So I'm the owner of the company going to store demos with like demo reps and stuff, right? Yep. And I met a lot of people, man. So a lot of these people now were doing their own brands and stuff. So I had these relationships already built. So when I had my manufacturing facility, they started using us to run their product. So that was a big step.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, just to pause for a minute, I think a lot of brand owners or, people actually starting their own businesses kind of fail to realize that it takes more than just sitting behind a computer. Like, that's not the case anymore. Like, or it never has been really. Like, if you want your shit to work, you're going to have to put your head down. You're going to have to go out there and sell it. Like, if it's something like, in regards to supplements even, dude, like, you're not just going to come up with something on the fly and it magically take off.
Well, it depends on the time too. Like today, I wouldn't recommend going store to store as much. It's a different time.
Yeah.
6.5 years ago, it was just a different time it was just different.
Yeah. Social media now has taken a major play in marketing, especially when it comes to brands. But you have your manufacturing facility. Obviously, you're manufacturing for yourself. About what time did you actually start manufacturing for other companies?
Pretty much. I mean, I'd say probably after a month of trying my own products. Like I was literally back there running the machines. We didn't have many people. We were learning. Like this was a experiment pretty much. This was a costly experiment because we ordered the machines and just had to all learn it. So we only had, maybe 7 people in the company at that time. And then we realized, holy shit, dude, it takes a lot to run a product. Like it's hard. There's a lot to it. So I'd say probably a month we started running other people's stuff once we kind of got a little more confident and started getting some more machinery and employees is the big key.
I was going to say, man, like now what are we at? How many employees do we have now?
We have around 200 now. Around 200. So within I guess what would it be, about almost a 3-year span, we went up that much.
In a 3-year span, the facility's more than quadrupled in size.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to go up way more in employees. I mean, in fact, last year you helped me with this. Like the governor came out, did a speech, and just because we're adding so many jobs, and that's what's really cool to see is because we went from going from a cool lead experience to this. Now I'm helping other people, and my employees are helping other people. Like it's a trickle effect, man. It's crazy.
And one thing I know that you've told me in the past is one thing that you've always wanted to do is protein. Yeah. So you've never manufactured protein powders, but now. This just kind of relates back to business in general. You're still developing. You're still on that work grind to get out there and make something else happen. So now, within probably the next, I'd say 2 years.
We should be doing protein within the next, probably 6 months or so.
Okay, so obviously my timeline, I'm horrible with time. So obviously I'm horrible. Like I suck. So okay, next one, RTDs.
That's and then ready to drink, like Red Bull type stuff. We're working on. I'd say probably the next year and a half we'll have that built.
Holy shit!
So we're going with the new facility. We have a lot of big things to offer. Really, we have so much space, and also what's to be said there is within that time span we've shot 5 movies. With Darkwood Pictures, we've done. The clothing line. I mean, we're not just doing. And see, I say we all the time. I'm just so used to it because it is a team thing. I think that's something to be said for a lot of other business owners that are, fucking driving Lambos. It's all they care about is themselves. Is like, that's a big thing, man. Like, you got to treat it as a team and your people.
I mean, dude, you've got the. I'll give you that 100% is that you've built a family atmosphere at work. I mean, there's not one person that comes in and is just. Should feel out of place. Everybody is, everyone's family.
Yeah.
And
seeing it now, telling the story, you see why I want that family. You know, like I want the family. Like that's what I
Exactly.
what I need. Man.
So, at present day, we've got the facility, 500,000 square feet. We've got the actual multiple film companies. We're not going to, obviously go in and name all of them. On top of that, like you said, we filmed 5 movies. There's 2 in post-production right now. One that's going to be releasing relatively soon, September 1st, I believe.
Yes.
And then one later on after that, correct?
Yeah, the one's called The Canada, and we have another one in the works right now too.
And that one that we're not going to talk about that's in the works, that's going to be that's kind of like a, I don't even know how to explain it, man. That's going to revolutionize the way that you experience.
Yeah, so kind of the way in supplements that we decided to pull out of distribution like 2 years before a lot of people did, and like made a big leap of faith that turned out to be awesome. We're doing the same thing with movies, man. We're taking this something that I have a vision of just being amazing and just trying it, where a lot of people in the movie industry, they're very comfortable with the way things work now. I'm not. I actually fucking can't stand it.
No, but see, that's the thing. Is like, that's why it's going to work. That I know it's going to work, and I know that it's going to blow up just because it's so different. Everyone else is so mainstream with how they release a movie. Like, the experience, it's all about the experience. Think about it. When you go see a movie, it's all about the experience that you have, and that's all we're going to say. That's it. It's all about the experience.
Well, dude, I just love experiences in general. I think every product, like if you look at, Insane Labs in general, it's an experience. You're not just buying a product, you're buying a product that has an experience around it. We make horror movies. The images on the products are they're just cool. I mean, it's just a whole different vibe than anything else that's out there.
Yeah. So, that pretty much gets a large part of your backstory in here. I think that, I think that it will help people. That's and that. Let's be honest, that was a pretty quick overview of everything. I mean, there was nothing that we really went too in depth on. We pretty much hit the main points of everything, and I think people are really going to understand that there is credibility in what you will be saying in the future. You didn't get shit handed to you. You fucking worked for it.
Yes.
Like, you worked for it from the age of 18. Hell, let's go 17 forward, because at 17, you knew, even earlier than that, you knew when you were just, even hitting 7th grade, shit's got to change for me. You wanted it then, and you've built it now, and you're going to build it going forward. So I think that this is going to help people with the credibility
And that's
issue.
The goal, man. That's the goal. Like,
it is.
I mean, honestly, talking about childhood and stuff, I just don't like talking about that. I don't go around saying much about it. But I do see the need, like you said, to kind of get it out there, let people understand that I wasn't given money, because that's the common misconception.
Dude, so many people are fickle with the way that they take advice and information. Instantly they're going to see, a podcast, a business podcast, whatever, and the first thing they're going to bitch about is, what's your credibility, or why are you allowed to tell me this, and why do I have to listen to you? Like, that is literally the biggest thing that, that we experienced before we decided to, 100% dive into this.
And that's the thing that actually kind of pisses me off, is like, you have guys that are quote unquote these business gurus that have never even ran a business. Like, okay, I've ran a shitload of businesses. So when I say something, it may not work for you, but this is what works for me. And I can actually tell you from actual experience that has worked, and show you, like, hey, here's what we built. Here it is in, like, dude, we can put it on video, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's real shit. You can look it up.
Yeah. It's not, hey, here, I'm going to sell you this book. I'm going to sell you this course. I'm going to show you my car. I'm going to show you my expensive house. That lends nothing to learning. Like, I really believe that a lot of those people are just exceptional at playing off of the desires of other people to make money, when they need to realize what it is, and what it boils down to is hard work.
Yeah, and I think people are going to realize that too. Like, whenever you listen to me speak, you're going to realize I don't give a shit about my house. I don't care about my car. Like, I love business, and I love doing new experiences and new businesses. It's just fun for me. So if y'all can feed off that, that's awesome. And that's all I ask, is, like, give an open mind. Like, some of the stuff I may say, I'm probably going to contradict myself. Like, I know I'm going to contradict myself, but that's okay.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens. And you know what, guys? So we're on the tail end of this podcast now, so it's a good time to say that if you have any personal questions for Dustin, whether it be over past businesses, or anything building up from that, feel free to drop a direct message, be it through YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Dustin LeBleu CEO on all of the above, if I'm correct. Just make sure that, you have a clear, concise question, whatever you're asking. Don't just DM and be like, hey, what do you think? You would be surprised some of the messages.
And another tip is I don't read the best, so don't write the Bible to me because I won't read it. I'm just being nice. I don't know how to read that well. So,
but I think that that gets the point across. And again, you know how to reach out. And next week we're going to be coming to you guys. And weeks after that, we're going to keep this going. And each week we're going to try to come to you guys with new content, not just new content, but we're going to try to address questions and certain topics that business related, or life related, whatever it may be. Either way, it's going to be fantastic advice. Again, we're not selling a book. It's just straight up knowledge. It's what has worked so far. It's not laced with bullshit. It's just good information. So it's going to be something you guys are. It is. It's raw. You guys are going to want to check this out. So make sure that you subscribe to the podcast. Make sure that you download it. And again, I'm Austin.
I'm Dustin.
And we will catch you guys later. Thank you for tuning in.